Welcome to the Build a Lifestyle podcast, where we're going to talk about building your lifestyle. We're going to talk about money, family, relationships, health and fitness, spiritual and self-development, and experience. What are you doing for fun? What are we doing to experience this life that we're here to do? So welcome to the show. I'm your host, Michael Burns. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Build a Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Mike Burns. So I get hit up probably weekly on social or all the different platforms and people asking about like, hey man, I want to get into real estate, or I've been, essentially they want to do their first deal. They want to get into investing, and how do I do that? Or can you help me do that? Or do you have any tips? Do you have any tricks? Any and everything along those lines. So I figured I was going to shoot a podcast episode regarding like the person who's messaging me on Instagram saying, hey, I want to get into real estate investing. How do I do that? So I'm going to give you guys a masterclass today on that, start to finish, of what I would do if I was going and I was brand new again. So if I rolled back the clock 12 years, never done a deal again, this is pretty much exactly what I would do. So I think first and foremost, when you're investing, is you need to get clear on what it is that, like, what type of investor do you want to be? You need to get clear on that, because all the time, I talk to people and they're newer wanting to do deals, and it's like, well, what kind of deal are you looking for? And they can't even identify what kind of deal they're looking for or what type of investor they are. It's like, oh, well, I'd love to do some flips. Like, wholesaling sounds cool, man. Apartments is awesome. Storage, some single family rentals, maybe some short-term Airbnb stuff. And here's the deal. If you're brand new and your scope and your vision of like, I want to do a deal, and that's what you're coming in with, like this huge net, you're just throwing it out there, you're never going to get a deal done, because you got guys like me who do this all day, every day, and we're super focused on the type of deals that we're doing and what we're looking for. And maybe some one-off stuff is going to come along the way, but like, I flip houses, I lend hard money, I buy single family rentals, and we do apartment deals. Like that's pretty much like what I'm looking at, maybe some storage stuff. But like, I've been doing this for 12 years and I've got, I mastered flipping, and then I started taking down rental properties, and then moved into commercial stuff, and then moved into lending hard money. It was like a process. But if you're trying to go out and just shotgun it, like, oh yeah, I want to do all this stuff, like I would highly advise you don't do that, because you're not going to get anywhere. So first and foremost, get clear on like, what type of investing do I want to do? What asset class? Do I want to do single family? Do I want to do commercial? You really need to make that decision early on, because like, I don't know a whole lot of guys that do both single family and commercial, maybe that are more seasoned and established, but it's kind of one or the other. So pick, are you going single family or are you going commercial? I'm going to talk a lot about single family because that's how I started, and I think that's a much better entry point for a newer investor, and it's just easier to get into those deals. So the next question is when you're getting clear on this is, am I an operator? Am I an investor and I just want a return, or am I maybe a hybrid of both? So what is an operator? An operator is someone who's doing just that. You're operating the deal. You're finding the deal. You're structuring the deal. You're raising the money. You're dealing with the contractors and all the rehab, or you're managing the property. You're operating the deal. You're rolling your sleeves up and you're doing the work. That's an operator. Or do you want to be an investor? A lot of people, they have a job, they're busy, and they just want to take their money, or maybe they own a business, whatever it is, but they don't want to operate the deal. They don't want to be rolling their sleeves up doing all the work, but they want to invest their money into real estate. And you're going to be more of an investor, more of a silent partner, a hard money lender, an LP or a limited partner. These are these different terms that you're going to hear. But essentially, you just want a return on your money, and you don't want to be doing a whole lot of the work. Or you could be a hybrid. I think a hybrid is a really good way to start. Like, maybe you find a deal, but you don't really quite know how to fund it, or you don't know how to do everything. So you do a little bit of both, bring the deal, do a little bit of operating, but also invest some money into it as well. I think that's a great way to learn, where you could put your money into somebody else's deal, but then say, hey, I'd kind of like to watch this process along the way. And that'd be a little bit of a hybrid model. I think that's a great way to start, because then you can get a feel of what it is that you like to do. Do you like to do the operating? Do you like to do finding the deals and being out there in the trenches and doing work? Or do you just want to get that mailbox money? So Are you an operator or are you more of a passive investor? You need to get clear on that, because if you just want to be a passive investor and all of a sudden you're operating a deal and you're not comfortable with confrontation and you're not comfortable with negotiating and dealing with contractors and holding timelines and all of the stress and pressure that's involved with that, you're not going to have a great experience. So operator or investor, and then the asset class. Are we doing single family? Are we doing commercial? What is it that we're like, what asset class? And then the next thing you need to look at is what type of return on investment are you looking for? And that could be a return on your time. So you want an equity piece, or if you're, if you're putting money into the deal, like what type of return do you want to see on your money? So I kind of look at the ROI as there's both the interest piece, like what kind of interest am I making on my money? And then there's also the equity, like the equity and the percentage of the deal. What do both of those look like? Because I'm interested in both making interest, so that's why we lend hard money, but I also love equity. I love value add deals where I get an equity in the deal and you drive up the value of that, and then when you exit it, you have a portion or all of the equity in that deal. That's what I specifically like to do myself. But you got to know your box. And then you need to be disciplined as well. So once you've set up like your box or your investor box, your buy box, whatever you want to call it, you need to be in discipline to that. Because if you do not learn early on to be a disciplined investor, it's going to cost you a lot of time and money and heartache. I can assure you that. And again, I would really, if you're brand new, you're that new guy that's wanting to get into it, just pick a route that you're going to go. I'm going to go flip a house. I'm going to go wholesale a house. I'm going to go get a rental property. I'm going to go syndicate an apartment deal. I'm going to go find a storage deal. Whatever it is, pick one and start with that. And then once you've mastered that or done a few of those deals, then expand your horizons and maybe add another type of asset class or another type of deal within an asset class. So a lot of people will start with wholesaling real estate. And that's basically where you find a seller. Excuse me, guys, I've been working on a cold here. But when you wholesale a deal, that's essentially where I go to John, who's selling his house, and I say, hey, John, I'm going to buy your house for $100,000. John says, okay, cool. And so me and John have a deal for $100,000. I'm going to buy John's house for 100 G's. Well, I know Tony, who's a flipper or an investor, and I'm going to go to Tony and say, hey, Tony, I got this deal over here on 123 Main Street. I'll sell it to you for 120,000. And Tony's like, cool, that works for me. The numbers work for me. Let's do it. So I'm going to assign the contract or wholesale the deal from John that I'm buying it 100,000 to Tony, who I'm selling it for 120, and I'm going to make $20,000 spread in the middle. That's called a wholesale or an assignment. And that is a great way as a new investor to get into the market, because you're finding deals, you're learning how to put deals together, but you don't have to raise the money for them, and you don't have to worry about like executing on the deal, hiring a contractor, managing all of that, coming up with the money of all of that. So wholesaling is a great way to get into the single family game, because you're doing deals and putting them together. You're getting paid quick. Like you don't need a whole lot of operating capital. You don't need money to buy the house. You don't need money to rehab the house. You don't have to have the skill set to manage contractors and do all of that. And if you're going to go that route, what I would also recommend as starting wholesaling properties is when you wholesale a deal to a guy like me. So in that scenario, when I wholesale John's property to Tony and I made the 20,000 in between, I would say to Tony, like, hey, Tony, I would really like to kind of watch you go through the process of flipping this home or whatever Tony's going to do with it, and just say, is that cool with you? And Tony's going to say yes every single time, because he wants this deal. So now you're making money on the deal, but then you can leverage that deal to get education on what the next steps look like. And during that process, you're also going to build a relationship with Tony and possibly pick up Tony as a mentor as well. So that's probably the way that I would suggest if you're looking to get into single family real estate as an investor. What I just laid out, that's where I would start. And then you can expand, finding these deals is a huge valuable skill set. And then you expand your relationships where you start lining up money and contractors, and you start expanding your education and your knowledge of the business in general, of what the next processes look like. So then you can make money on these deals and then get education for free, watching the deals get executed on and going to the finish line. So get clear on where it is you want to start. So like now you're into real estate. It's like, okay, I want to flip single family homes. You want to do whatever you want to do. You want to do apartment storage. You're clear on what you want to do. You're clear on if you're going to be an operator or if you just want to be more of an investor, and you've got your buy box and you understand your disciplines that you need to stick with. So now it's like, okay, we need to get into the game. So what do you do to get into the game? The first thing that I recommend anybody does is you need to go join your local RIA. RIA stands for Real Estate Investors Association. So in Salt Lake, we had SLRIA, and this is literally what I did, guys. Like I'm giving you what I did, but also what I would do if I was starting over. So I would join the local RIA. Most of them are going to have, 1 or 2 night meetups a month, and then they'll probably have a lunch or something like that. Maybe they'll throw other events, seminars. It just depends on how well it's run by the local people who are putting that together. But go and join the local RIA. And the reason you want to do that is you're putting yourself in the environment where what you're doing is actually happening. So you want to be a real estate investor. Well, I should go to the local Real Estate Investor Association because that's where other investors are hanging out. So when I started, literally probably my first 10 deals all came from relationships at SLRIA. Like the first deal, the wholesaler came from SLRIA. The private money guy that I met who lent me the money for that deal, I also met at SLRIA. The contractor who we used for that project, I met at SLRIA, who was also had a relationship with the wholesaler who we bought it from. My title lady, Christina, who's closed all of my deals since day one, I met at SLRIA. So literally everybody that was part of probably my first 6, 8, 10 deals all came from SLRIA. And it cost me like $125 for the year. So I go pay $125. I get to go to all the stuff. And now I'm putting myself in an environment where deals are getting done. I mean, everybody is at SLRIA. There was wholesalers there, flippers there, buy and hold guys there, hard money lenders there, real estate agents there, mortgage brokers there, title people there. My real estate attorney who I've used for same thing, 12 years I met there. Like the entire team, every piece that you need to get this real estate business going, you can find all the contacts at this group. And the other thing that I like about going to RIAs or like a meetup, if they don't have a RIA where you're at, go to a meetup. I guarantee you there's some sort of real estate investor meetup. There's some sort of people gathering who do what you do in your town. I promise you it's happening. And if it's not happening, then you can be the guy to start it. But the other thing that I really like about going to these groups is not only are these people doing the business and they're in the business that I'm in, but they are also going to be like-minded likely because they're taking the time and effort to do the same thing. They want to build relationships. They want to put themselves in an environment where business is happening. So they're probably going to be a little bit more focused on relationships, which is a huge part of this business, like relationships. And if you guys follow me, it's the foundation of everything that I do. My life and my business all revolves around the relationships. So step one, go join that's what you can do immediately. Go join your local RIA or any meetups. And then when you're there, like you're going to be learning information, but the biggest thing that you want to do while you're there is networking. And when you're new, I remember going to my first SLRIA meeting, I was terrified. I was like 24, didn't know anything about anything, like for real. There's no way I could install a toilet if I had to. Like I was as green as it gets. And it's like, oh, I'm going to Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. I'm thinking guys are probably wearing suits and it's this big formal thing. You're going to have all these ballers there, these millionaire guys. But I still showed up and I was nervous. But what I did is I walked in and then it was way more casual than I ever thought it would have been. But when I walked in, I just said, hey, I'm the new guy. My name's Mike. I'm the new guy. That was my opening line. And the people who were doing the check-in were awesome. Mike, so nice to meet you. Like, so glad you came out. Like, what are you doing? Where are you from? Are you new? Are you experienced? And they really just made me feel welcome. And that helped me stepping into a new environment where I don't know anybody and I'm brand new at this thing. And real estate investing kind of sounds scary and intimidating if you haven't done it before. There's a lot of money involved, and just how do you even do that was kind of like my thought process. So the reason I share that with you is when you show up, Introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm Mike. I'm new. I'm interested in flipping houses. I'm interested in wholesaling properties. Tell people who you are and why you're there. And guess what? These people are also new to the group at one point in time, but they're also there for a reason too. Everyone there is there because they're looking for exactly what you're looking for. They're looking for deals. They're looking for money. They're looking for relationships. They're looking for contacts. They're looking to do exactly what it is you're doing. Maybe they have a different approach to how they want to do their investing, and they have different goals, and they're clear on that, but everybody is there for the same reason, so you don't need to be shy. So when I'm speaking at events, especially like real estate events, I always make a point to talk about this. Go up to the room and just say, hi, I'm Mike. Stick out your hand. Hey, I'm Mike. What do you do? It doesn't have to be this like scary thing. And a lot of people, they're shy. They don't want to break the ice. So don't stand in the corner and not say anything, or go to the meeting and then hurry up and leave. Like, the money is in the relationships, and that's where you're going to get the skills, the contacts. Everything is going to come from other people that you don't know. So you need to network with these people and just start with that. Hey, I'm Mike. What do you do? And they're going to say, hey, Mike, I'm Tom. I'm interested in flipping houses and I lend hard money. What do you do? And then you start the conversation and you keep it going from there. But it doesn't have to be this big, scary, intimidating thing. But getting this done, like doing these small things, is going to create momentum. But also, when you put yourself in the environment where deals are happening and what you want to be doing is happening, you're going to see regular guys, regular people just like you, doing the very thing you want to do. And for me, that makes it seem that much more real. So when I started going to Saria, I met a dude named Luke Watkins, who's one of my very good homies till today. Like, I've known him for probably 13 years now. And Luke was about a year down the road from me. So I met Luke there, and same thing. Hey man, what's up? I'm Mike. What do you do? And he's like, oh, I just started flipping. I used to do stuff with my dad, kind of construction company. We had a pool company, and now I'm getting into flips. I'm like, oh, cool. How long you been doing it? He's like, oh, about a year. I was like, right on. How many deals have you done? He's like, I've got one flip going right now. It's my first one or my second one. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Tell me about the deal. And me and Luke became friends, and Luke told me, like, so I was like, hey, could I come check out your house? Could I come look at your flip? And Luke's excited about it. He wants to show me his flip. And like, he's, seeing that I'm where he was a year ago. So he wants to help. So I'm, follow up with Luke, get his number. I follow up with him a few days later, and I go meet Luke at his flip, and he walks me through his house. He's like, yeah, dude, this is how I got the deal. So he told me how he got the deal. And then he told me, hey, this is how I funded the deal. And then he's like, this is what I'm doing in the construction. Like, this is who I hired. This is what they're doing. This is what the estimates are and how much it's going to cost. This is what the ARV is. ARV means after repair value, for you guys who aren't familiar with the language. And that's another thing too, is when you're getting ready, or when you're entering this real estate world, you really want to get familiar with the language as quickly as you can, because if you don't know what ARV means, people are going to know you're green real quick, which is okay, but just ask the questions and understand the lingo. So if someone says something you don't understand, ask them what it is, instead of, trying to play it off because you don't want to look dumb, because that does not serve you. So ARV, after repair value. So anyways, like, I meet Luke, he walks me through his deal. He shows me how he got it, how he funded it, what the numbers are. And I'm in a house and I'm actually seeing a real flip. So I'm not watching it on YouTube, or I'm not hearing about it at a RIA meeting. I'm like standing in the house and I'm seeing this thing like 2 weeks into the project. And it was really cool because like now I'm physically here and I'm seeing it. And that's another level of me getting that much closer to doing what it is I want to do. And I'm like, okay, Luke is this super cool dude from LA. He's got tattoos all over. He's wearing an LA Dodgers hat. He's got jeans and Vans on with a freaking long sleeve flannel, total Cali looking boy, pulled up on a motorcycle that he got as part of the deal, and he's flipping houses. I'm like, well, if this dude can do it, I can for sure do it. You don't have to be this like professional guy that wears a suit and whatever. So again, the reason I share that with you is that was so huge for me. And if you're a newer investor, like getting in the game and getting around the game and seeing it, touching it, feeling it is critical, because that's how you're going to get more familiar with things, and you're going to be able to start understanding things and like knowing what a deal looks like and knowing how to run the numbers. And when you walk a project, knowing kind of what needs to be done, and you're going to learn like what happens during what time of the rehab, like you do demo, and then you're going to do your rough plumbing and electrical, and then you're probably going to start laying, doing sheetrock and then laying flooring and so on and so forth. You can't just learn that by reading a book or watching YouTube. Like, the same way if you're actually there on site doing it. So joining the RIAs is big. Another thing that I want to point out when you go to these meetings, and guys, this isn't sexy, but this is a blueprint. So this is literally the blueprint of how it's done. When you're networking and you're meeting people at these groups, you want to get people's information, but also follow up with them. So I'm going to share a story with you about following up. That first deal that my brother and I did, we walked it, and I've told the story on the show before, but like I walked the deal on a Saturday, and the wholesaler is like, hey dude, it has to close Monday. So I didn't even have a business day to like put this deal together. However, I had met Gary, who was my first hard money lender. I had met him at Slaria. They had a weekend workshop on a Saturday, so I went to it. I'm putting in the time. I'm showing up. Gary was standing in the corner with his wife. I went up, said, hi, I'm Michael. What do you do? Literally what I'm telling you guys. And Gary's like, oh, hey, Michael, we're new. We just sold our business. We live in Cedar City, which is a couple hours south of where we're at in Salt Lake. And he's like, we want to start lending hard money. And I said, well, that's awesome. I'm flipping houses and looking for hard money lenders. So I got Gary's contact information on Saturday, and I followed up with him that following week, Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe Monday. I had followed up with a phone call and said, hey Gary, just want to follow up with you. It's Michael. You met me and your brother, or you met my brother and I, and just wanted to follow up with you, let you know we're doing this. We're really interested in building a relationship with you, and when we have some deals, I'd love to come with you for the hard money. And he was like blown away that I actually followed up with him, and now we're building a relationship, but he's also seeing me take action and follow up with him, which gives him more confidence in me. Now this guy met me on a Saturday at a real estate investors networking group that was a seminar that we both paid to be at. So obviously I'm serious about it. And then he meets me, and then he has me following up with him the following week. Like, I'm building credibility and a relationship with this dude and trust at the same time. So when that first deal came up, I called Gary we actually had a meeting coincidentally, but so I walked this wholesale deal Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon I'm meeting with Gary and his wife, and Gary and his wife funded that deal for me and my brother on Monday. So my first deal I ever did, I literally walked it Saturday, funded it Monday. I've been doing this for like 12 years now, and that wouldn't be a huge deal to do now, but for your first deal to close it in not even a business day was pretty crazy. But the only reason it happened is because what I'm telling you guys. I went to the local group, I networked, I built relationships by following up with people. So you're going to build the relationships, you're going to get the contacts, and then also pick up a mentor. Like I got, Luke was my mentor, but as you're meeting people and they're telling you who they are and what they're doing, if they have projects going on, ask them like, hey, could I come meet you, come check out your project sometime? And guess what? Every real estate investor, unless it's the guys that are just crushing it and been doing it a long time, and it's just about volume, they're passionate about these projects. They're proud of it. They're stoked. They're excited that they're doing it. They want to show off their project. So I can assure you, if you were to ask someone, hey, oh, that's cool, man, you got a couple flips going on. Hey, like, is there sometime maybe you're there, I could just come meet you and walk through it and check it out. I'm just would love to see what you're doing. And 9 out of 10 times, probably more than that, they're going to say, yeah, absolutely. So now you're building a relationship with someone, and you're going to go see their stuff, and maybe you pick up a mentor, but you're putting yourself in the scenario and the environment where what you want to do is happening. And I can't stress that enough, because that's literally step one, is getting into the game. Like, you can't play the game if you don't show up to the field. So this is what showing up to the field looks like. Now, so that's kind of step one. Like I said, join the RIA, join the networking groups, the meetup groups, network with people, find a mentor, build relationships, follow up with people, and just keep showing up consistently over and over and over. And eventually people are going to start to notice the new guy is not new anymore. Like, this dude's been coming around for 6 months, 8 months. I better go talk to him. If I haven't, I wonder who that guy is. And then you're going to start building these relationships. So we got that all dialed in. Now, when we look at deals, there's several parts of a deal. Okay, so the first part is finding a deal and underwriting the deal to see if it's actually a deal. So to go finding deals, there's all sorts of different ways you can go about it. The way that my brother and I started is we would call for sale by owner signs. We would call for rent by owner signs and just say, hey, hey, owner, I saw you were selling your property over there on 123 Main Street, or hey, landlord, I saw that you had 123 Main Street for rent. I'm just curious, have you ever considered selling the property? I'm an investor. I'm looking for deals. And if you make enough of those calls, you're going to have people that want to sell for sure, 100%. And deals can come from there. We would also go driving for dollars. And that doesn't cost you anything but time and effort and maybe $20 and some sticky notes. But my brother and I, on the weekends or anytime we had downtime, we would go driving for dollars. So we would literally pick a neighborhood and we would go street by street and drive the neighborhood, and any property that looked distressed or that looked rough or that looked like it had opportunity for investment situation, we would stick a note on the front door saying, hey, I'd like to buy this house. I pay cash as is, no repairs, no fees, no realtors. Call me if you're interested. Something along those lines. And we would just put it on the front door. And that first year that we were in real estate, my brother and I did 3 deals from this exact thing, driving for dollars. And we wholesaled all 3 of them. We made 20 on one, we made 20 on another, and we made 10 on the third one. So we made 50 grand on a total of 3 deals from driving around, leaving notes on front doors. People called, they were interested. We went and met with them and put a deal together. And then because we had been going to the RIAs, we knew who the guys who were flipping a lot of houses were. So once I had these deals, I knew who to call to be able to assign or wholesale the contract to. So again, like everything is going to start with this network that you have of real estate investors and people who are in the game of real estate. Like everything that you need is going to be there. So your base is going to be your network. Other finding deals you can also do. So that's really what we did. We did for rent by owner, for sell by owner, driving for dollars, and then we would also go to the estate sales. So every Thursday or Friday, we get on Craigslist and KSL, which is a local classifieds, and we look up the estate sales that were happening that weekend. And then we go show up at all of them. They're doing an estate sale, selling all the stuff. We'd show up and say, hey, what's the plan with the house? Are you guys listing it? Like, is there anyone here that represents the house? We're interested in buying the house. We're investors. We can pay cash, close quick. You know, you guys can leave all this stuff that you don't want. We're just a big easy button, and we're here to give you a cash offer on the house. And we would do that every single weekend for like a year and a half. And that's what we did to get going. And then back then, this was in 2011 or 12, you could buy stuff off the MLS. That's a little more challenging to do now, but we were writing offers on the MLS. So again, through the network, I found a new real estate agent. What was his name? Rob was his name, and he had been licensed for like 6 months, and he was getting his business going. So he was willing to spend a lot of time with us. So he would show us properties, run comps on them, and we'd go up and show up at all these houses, and we'd go walk the house, and he'd show us the comps, and we would go through trying to figure out how much it's going to cost to rehab that house. Sometimes we would have contractors come and give us bids, and we're just doing reps, literally walking properties, having him give us comps, meeting with contractors, trying to figure out how much stuff costs. We would literally go to Home Depot and go aisle by aisle. Okay, a bathtub's $200, a toilet's $100, a shower trim kit's $100. You know, a garbage disposal is $100. An interior door is $125. So we would go to Home Depot and find out how much stuff costs, so then we could try and figure out how much our rehab was going to cost us. And by doing that, we're getting, again, when you're in the game, you're going to be learning. Like, this is reps. Everyone just wants to go straight to the end of the rainbow with the big golden pot, and that's not how it works. Like, you have to get reps in. You got to learn what you're doing, and the only way to do that is by getting in the game and actually doing it. So that's what we were doing to find the deals, everything I just went over, and then we started writing offers on stuff that was listed on the MLS. And then as we're doing that, and I keep going to these meetup groups and the RIA, I started meeting wholesalers, other guys that had deals that, you know, were deals. So then we were buying stuff from wholesalers. So we were working the wholesalers, for sell by owners, for rent by owners, driving for dollars, and the MLS. So I had 5 different polls out there, you know, looking for deals at all times. And then we'd be posting in Facebook groups, and we'd be posting in KSL and Craigslist, like, hey, we're looking to buy houses cash, like just guerrilla marketing, hustling. And that's what we were doing to find deals. So if you are new and you don't have a marketing budget and you have time and energy and work and hustle, like that's what you can do. None of that stuff costs you any money. It's literally all free. It costs you your time and maybe $20 in supplies to get these sticky notes to put on front doors. But outside of that, it just costs you time. It's free. So there's no excuse of like, oh, I don't have, the resources to do it. Like you can literally get out there and do deals with no money. That first house that we bought, we put no money down at all. Gary funded the whole purchase price and have $1 into it. We paid for the rehab, but we bought the house with zero of our own money. And as we're going through this process, I'm sharing with you guys, and again, this is all what I would do if I were to start over again. There's a few tweaks I would make, but my path was pretty good because we just went straight to working. But through that process, it took us 1 year and 94 offers. A year and 94 offers before we got our first deal. So Instagram and online and social media and all these gurus selling their courses and all the bullshit like to make you think that this is an overnight thing. You're just going to jump in and start flipping houses and making millions of dollars. Like that's not how it goes. It's not how it's gone for me. It's not how it's gone for any of my buddies, any of my mentors. Like that's just not how it goes. That's just a bullshit, sexy sales tactic to get you to buy their program. Like you have to get in there and you have to learn the business. You have to learn how it operates. You have to learn how it looks and you have to learn. The only way to learn it is by being around it and doing it. And that first deal, like I learned more in the first deal that we did than I ever could have learned reading a book or watching a podcast or going to a seminar. Like this truly is a learn by doing thing. So finding deals, we've just covered that. And then you got to fund the deals. How do you fund the deal? It's likely you're going to need a hard money loan or a private money loan, unless you've got cash sitting around or you got a family member that's got money or whatever. You need to raise money. You got to, there's tons of hard money lenders out there. There's private money guys like Gary out there. You just, again, you have to go build these relationships to find these people. And the best way to do that is going to get in the rooms where real estate deals and transactions and networking is happening. So again, going back to this base of the network is so important. But funding the deals, it's going to be private money or hard money. Some people like to try and do a house hack where you can buy a house with a traditional mortgage. You could absolutely get approved, go get pre-approved with a mortgage broker. That is something we do at Lifestyle Lending if you'd like to look at that or some help with that. But you need to have your money in line and ready to go. But here's one thing that I'll also say that I think everybody gets tripped up on when you're doing a deal, especially if you're newer. And even me now, when I look at bigger deals, there's like, oh, how do I get the money? How am I going to raise the money? I promise you guys, and really, really listen to me. I promise you, if you have a legitimate deal, the money is easy. There is a ton of money out there that wants to be part of a good deal. Like the money will come out of the woodworks for real. Like if you've got a good, legit, solid deal, people want to lend money on that deal. So don't worry about the money, worry more about finding a good deal. And then part of finding this deal too is the underwriting process. So again, you need to get familiar with your market. You need to get familiar with looking at comps. You need to get familiar with valuing property. How do you do that? Well, you got to look at the comps, or the comps are also known as the comparables. What are similar homes selling in that area? So what I do when I'm pulling comps is I'll go out 1 mile. So I'll go out a square mile from the property, the subject property. I'll go out a mile, I'll go 15% above and 15% below the square footage. So for example, if the house is 1,000 square feet, I'm gonna go look at homes that are 850 to 1,150 square feet. So 150 square feet above and 150 square feet below the subject property. And then you're going to want to look, so within a mile, similar square footage, you're going to want the similar style. So if you have a Rambler, you want to look at Ramblers. If you got a 2-story, you want to look at 2 stories. If you got a 2-car garage, you want to look at 2-car garages. So then you set that up, and then you start looking at the comps and you look at the photos, and based on the photos, you'll start to identify, okay, top of the market rehab stuff is selling for X, kind of middle of the market stuff that's been updated, but it's been lived in, is kind of the middle of markets here, and then super dated stuff is selling for here. So then you're identifying the market, and you're going to start with your ARV. Okay, this is what remodeled stuff is selling for, and work your numbers backwards. So it's like, okay, if this thing could sell for $300,000, then we got to work our numbers all the way backwards. So how much is it going to cost to rehab it? What are the closing costs and commissions going to be? How much is our hard money cost going to be? And then we need our profit in there. And you work it backwards, and that's going to tell you what you can pay for something. So you have to learn how to underwrite deals. My underwriting formula, I'll give it to you for a flip. There's tons of them you can do, but I think a lot of people listening to this are probably interested in the flip side of things. So I'll go ARV, after repair value, minus 10% of the ARV. And that 10% is going to cover your commissions for the agents. You know, you got the buying commission and the selling commission. It's going to cover your closing costs when you buy the house, closing costs when you sell the house, and then you're likely going to have to pay some closing costs for the buyer of the house. So ARV minus 10% for closing costs and commissions. And then I'm going to subtract the rehab cost. And then after you subtract the rehab cost, then you're going to subtract the cost for the hard money, because likely you're not paying cash for this. So you're going to have hard money costs minus the cost of hard money, and then minus your profit. I want to make a minimum of 10% of the ARV I want for profit. So if the house is going to be worth $300,000, I want a $30,000 spread for profit in there. So you go ARV minus 10%, minus your rehab, minus your profit, and then minus your money costs, and that's going to equal the maximum amount you can pay for that property. So when you're underwriting these deals, you have to be able to know what stuff is worth or what it could be worth, and then you work the numbers backwards, and that's how you find out what you can pay for the deal. And then if the seller is willing to be in that price range and you can negotiate a deal with the seller, then now at that point you have a deal. So that's finding deals and underwriting deals. Then we talked about funding deals. That's likely going to be hard money or private money unless you have your own cash, or I would suggest going and getting pre-approved with a mortgage lender and telling them what it is you want to do, so you can have that done up front, because the worst time to look for money is when you need it. So the best time to raise money is when you don't need it. So then you go into part 3 of this, is fixing the deal. And that's going to be where you keep your money. Everybody talks about like you make your money when you buy, which is true, but you keep your money when you execute. That's one of my favorite things to say when I'm speaking, especially to a real estate group, because people grossly underestimate the operating of a deal. Everyone's like, oh yeah, find the deal. Like, we got this sweet deal. But the thing is if you don't execute on that deal, it doesn't matter how great of a deal it is, because that's where you keep your money, is executing. So what does that mean? It means you need good contractors. You're only going to be as good as your contracting team or your subcontractors. So again, where you find contractors at, you're going to find them at these meetings that you're going to. Another place that I like to find contractors is on KSL or Craigslist. I'll search them there. But my favorite place is referrals. Like, I ask other investors, hey man, who do you use? I ask like our flooring guy, hey, who's doing good work right now on contracting? Or like any of our suppliers, our tile supplier, our flooring supplier, our carpet supplier, where we get our cabinets. I talk to the window guy, the roofer, the HVAC guy. I'm always talking to everyone like, hey, who do you know? And you want to be building your list of contractors. And the way that you deal with contractors when you're hiring them is, that's great. They can say whatever they want to say. They can show you as many pictures on their cell phone as they have. I want to go see their work. So when I'm starting to build relationships with contractors, it's like same thing. Hey man, do you got some projects I could come check out? I'd love to see your work. It's a non-threatening thing to them. You're showing interest in them, but also you want to go see their work, and you want to go vet their work. If they don't have any work to show you, that's a huge red flag. Or if they can start today or tomorrow, that's also a huge red flag. But finding contractors, you want to start doing that. Again, go to the networking groups and start asking your network, start asking the suppliers, look on KSL, look on Craigslist, look on Facebook Marketplace, and just start, again, doing the work and having the conversations and building the relationships. So then you're going to have your contractor there. When you're a newer investor, you have no business at all subbing it out yourself. Don't try to play general contractor. Like, pay a little bit more money and get someone who can manage the whole deal for you, start to finish. And then again, I would be there every day, every couple days, so I can watch the process and I can watch what happens when, and I can start learning and just being around it. The more that you can be around every facet of this business, the better you're going to be. So that's how you're going to deal with fixing it and dealing with the contractors. And then you got to sell the deal. So when you go to sell the deal, you're going to want to re-pull comps, and hopefully the comps are the same, if not better, than when you first bought the deal. Because when you're doing these deals, there's a long deal cycle. You're going to be 2, 3, 4 months on construction. So the comps and the markets, it could have gone up, could have gone down, or maybe it's the same from when you initially bought this deal. But when you go to sell it, you want to re-pull the comps. And again, if you're newer, get a good realtor. Good realtors are worth their weight in their commission. Like they're worth the commission, pay it, because they know what they're doing. They know how to price property. They know how to market property. And more importantly, they know how to have the conversations with other agents, and they know how to get deals put together, but they also know how to keep deals together. Like if you're trying to do it on your own for sell by owner, you're going to mess things up. You have no idea what you're doing. You're likely going to end up in a legal liability. Especially when you're newer, pay for a good realtor, pay the commission, and have them do it. But again, learn the process. As you're doing this stuff and you're paying these services, pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to what the process looks like. Pay attention to what the documents look like. Because when we were first starting and we wrote those 94 offers, I had seen 94 different purchase contracts. So I was really familiar with a purchase contract. I was really familiar with an addendum. I was really familiar with proof of funds letters. I was really familiar with all of the stuff because I had been doing it and seeing it. So when you're, kind of going back with the deals, there's finding the deal and underwriting it, and then there's funding it, then you have fixing it, and then there's selling it. Also, when you sell the deal, you want to get familiar with the market and the comps, but also you need to pay attention to the finishes and what are other sold homes. What do they look like? You want to make sure that you're at least like for like, if not better. You might want to consider staging the property. If all the other homes are staged and they look good, then you're probably going to want to maybe stage the property. But that's the process you're going to go through with the deal. And I was talking a lot about specifically like flips, but for example, I'll talk about my first multifamily deal. I have a 40 unit property in Texas that we're working on right now. It's my first larger deal that's like big units like that. Well, I guess it's not big units, but for me it's big units, 40 units. Same process. I found this deal. This deal came to me from a guy that was in one of my mastermind groups. So again, putting myself in an environment where people are doing what I'm doing and like-minded and stuff. So this dude lived in Charleston, South Carolina. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and the deal was in Texas. And then we ended up bringing on another partner in the deal who is in Missouri. So you've got a deal in Texas, you got a guy in Utah, a guy in South Carolina, and a guy in Missouri, all meet through this networking group, and we take this deal down together, and we all had different skill sets. So Brian brought the deal, Caleb brought the banking relationship, and I brought the skill set with operating deals and money, down payment and money for the deal. And that's how that deal happened. So again, putting yourself in the environment and the network and telling people who you are and what you're doing and what you're wanting to do. That's how that bigger deal happened for me. Same thing with rental properties, because I kind of want to cover all the different stuff we've talked about. I've told you about our first wholesale. I told you about our first flip. I just told you about my first apartment deal. My first rental property was a seller finance deal. And same thing. It came from a guy who was wholesaling it. I had met this guy wholesaling the deal at Slaria, and the title lady who knows how to close deals like that, I also met at Slaria. So because the seller financing is a little bit different, that's how we got our first rental property. And then I learned about seller financing at a Slaria workshop. And this isn't a pitch for Slaria if you guys are in Utah, but I'm just sharing how my first deals went. And I don't know that there's a whole lot I would have done differently when I was first starting, other than just probably doing more output, more offers, like way more offers. I could have made a lot more than 94 offers in a year, and I could have just been more aggressive. But this first rental property came in seller financed. So what's awesome about seller financing is you don't have to get a loan from a bank. So when you're buying a rental property, you can't really do that on hard money because the interest is so high, and hard money is short-term loans, and rental properties, you're keeping them for a longer period of time. So this property came in on seller financing where the seller was willing to leave the loan in place forever. So we took title to the property. The loan stayed in place in her name, and we just started making the monthly payment on it. I think we put $5,000 to the wholesaler, and then we gave like $2,500 to the lady who was selling the house. So we were able to get this house for $7,500 down, instead of a 20% down payment. If you were to go to a normal bank and ask for an investment property loan, they want 20% down. So we put $7,500 down, and then we get this rental property. And I think our payment was like $850 on it, and we were renting it for like $1,050. So we were making $400 a month cash flow on the $7,500 that we put down into it. And that's how we got our first rental property. So to the guy who sends me the next message on Instagram, I'm gonna refer you to this podcast. But that's exactly what I would do again if I was starting again and I wanted to get my first real estate deal done. I would do everything I just shared with you guys, which is kind of what my whole process looked like as well. Other than I would have been more aggressive, I would have been writing more offers. I wouldn't have been scared to hear no. I remember like when we sent our first offer in, it was like, I don't even know what it was, but it was low. It was like super low. And I was nervous, like, shit, what if they accept our offer? What are we going to do? We don't have hard money. We don't know anyone we could wholesale it to. We don't even know how to wholesale it. Like, how do you do the paperwork? And when the response came back, the guy said, "What is this? An unwelcome joke?" And then I was like, checked my pulse. I'm like, I'm still alive. It didn't sting that bad. That was his response. "What's this, an unwelcome joke?" to like a ridiculously low ball offer. So there's nothing to be scared of other than being scared that you're not going to get started, because if you don't get started, you're never, ever going to do a deal. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps. If you're interested in more stuff like this, maybe you want to talk about some coaching, or you want to come to a fix and flip workshop that we might be doing in Salt Lake, hit me up. We got stuff like that going on all the time. But just here to be a resource and sharing my experience and all the things I'm learning along the way, and just trying to give back. So I appreciate you guys following the show. If you got any value from it, please like it, leave me a review, share the show. And until next week, go build that lifestyle. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. I appreciate all the love and support. As always, if you like the show, please leave me a review, share it with a friend. And if there's anything that I can assist you with, please reach out. I'm here to help. And until then, go build a lifestyle.